A weekend retreat to a quaint forest cabin curdles into a waking nightmare when subtle tapping on the window grows into a siege by something that leaves dead offerings, clawed trees, and footprints that start outside and end at the bed. I rent an old-fashioned cabin for the weekend. One room, one fireplace, one promise, quiet. The road in is a thread through black pines. Rain clouds squat low, and the air has that clean, metallic sharpness of a place that doesn't like to be disturbed. Inside, aged boards, mismatched chairs, a stone hearth so old it has its own smell of ash and winter. The place feels safe, in the way forgotten places sometimes do. I unpack, cook, listen to the roof, take the night's first fingers of rain. The cabin space is a single breath. Bed, kitchenette, a small couch, curtains drawn tight against the dark. By the time the storm settles to a soft patter, the cabin hums with white noise. I lie down. The glow of my phone fades. Sleep takes me quickly. It isn't a dream that pulls me up. It's a feeling, primitive, sour in the gut, like stepping onto a stair that isn't there. My eyes open to a room that looks exactly as I left it, but the air is wrong. Thicker, charged. The rain shushes the windows, even and soothing. No footsteps, no voices, but I am certain, bone-deep certain, that I am being watched from somewhere just beyond the glass. No. Da. A faint, rhythmic tap, then another. Not random patter, intervals, like a finger testing glass for a response. I sit up and the mattress whispers. The tapping stops. I lift my phone. Its cold light cuts a pale tunnel across floorboards silvery with condensation. I move, bare feet on cold wood, checking the couch, the kitchenette, the fireplace throat. Silence swallows everything. I go to the back window, the one that faces the trees. The curtain is heavy, damp at the hem. I pinch the fabric and draw it an inch. Rain warps the world outside into a dark river. The forest is a wall of vertical shadows. I almost close it. Then my light skates over the floorboards below the sill and catches a trail of wet, thin as breath, beading into half-moons of mud. Barefoot prints. Small. Human.tau. They arc from the door to the window and stall beneath the curtain, then vanish as if the last step never needed the floor. I freeze. The room shrinks. Water ticks from the curtain onto the wood, but the curtain is dry above my hand. I whisper a laugh that doesn't sound like me. I open the door to the covered stoop, intending to prove myself wrong. Rain drifts sideways, a fine, needling mist. There, on the welcome mat, lies a small black crow, arranged with impossible neatness. Neck broken, wings folded, head tilted toward the door. Not fallen, placed. Beyond the stoop, the mud churns to a slurry of boot prints from earlier travelers. But cutting across them, clearly visible, is a single path of naked feet coming from the tree line, stopping at my step, and turning back again. The spacing is wrong. Too close together, as if the walker were leaning forward the entire time. I step back inside and close the door quietly, like that matters. I can't help it. I look through a different window toward the nearest pine. The phone's light reaches only so far, but it finds gouges in the bark, long and parallel, the kind that sink into the living wood. Sap beads in pale tears. There are more, on the second tree, and the third, each set higher than my reach. Whatever marked them was tall, or climbed. A draft moves through the cabin, as if the building let out a breath. No. I sit on the bed and watch the windows. Time folds. The room is a circle of waiting. Then, barely audible under the rain, I hear a murmur. Not quite language. Like someone practicing a word they can't shape. Something leans against the back window. The pane fogs. A soft flower blooming from the center. In the fog, a handprint appears. Long palm, narrow fingers. No holes, no ridges, too smooth. It presses, slides an inch down the glass, and vanishes when the condensation runs. I don't move for the rest of the night. The tapping never returns. The feeling never leaves. Nin. At dawn, the rain is only a memory in the smell of wet wood. I tell the owner casually, like a funny story I am not part of. He doesn't blink. He nods, as if I've mentioned the color of the curtains. A few months back, he says, someone got 3 knocks, heavy ones. Shook the door, didn't open. Next morning, the frame was splintered like it was tested by a sledge. Nobody called the police. Folks get nervous, you know. He smiles without teeth. I don't like spooking customers. He doesn't ask if I slept well. He doesn't ask if I'm staying. Oh, Penny. Daylight feels like a lie, but I use it. I circle the cabin. The crow is gone. In the mud at the forest's lip, bare footprints multiply. Some fresh, some softened by rain. They circle the cabin, avoid the door, double back on themselves like someone pacing a line they can't cross. Farther in, I find a birch scarred with claw marks, 5 deep cuts tapering upward. Beside them, faint in the lichen, is what looks like a palm pressed into bark. Not a hand. Hands have structure. This print is wide, soft-edged, as if pressed by something that learned the shape, but not the bone. A low branch holds a strip of fabric, damp and colorless, knotted in a loop. It flutters once. The air smells briefly of iron. Back inside, I notice the oddities. A horseshoe nailed upside down above the door. A thin line of salt crusted along the windowsill, interrupted only where the curtain brushes. A small, empty nail hole on the frame, as if something once hung there and was taken down. I'm suddenly aware that the cabin is less a home than a trap with rules. And at some point, recently, someone moved a piece. Ow. Ah. Clouds stack again by late afternoon. The forest goes dark by degrees, and with it, my nerve. I decide, stupidly, not to leave. I drag the couch to face the back window. I keep my phone plugged in. I tell myself I'll just watch. The rain begins anew, patient and sure. As if in answer, the first tap arrives. Gentle, deliberate. The next one comes exactly as my heart rate settles. I count the seconds between. They are even. I hold the curtain closed with 2 fingers. The fabric feels colder than the room. The tapping stops. A minute passes. 2. Don't know. Then... knock. It comes from the door. Heavy, resonant. A fist that knows my name. Knock. The frame trembles. Dust loosens in the ceiling seam. Knock. High. The last one is a command. Wood fibers cry. A hairline crack opens by the latch. I don't breathe. The door stops shaking. The silence swells. A whisper rises at the back window, clearer now, as if the speaker is closer to language. See. The curtain pulses inward once, as if someone exhaled against it from the other side. Wah, one four. I understand, too late, that the knocks are not to be answered. They are a distraction. The thing at the door is not the thing at the window. Or maybe it is, moving faster than I can count. Something drips onto my wrist. I look up. The curtain hem is wet. It shouldn't be. There is no leak. The water smells of pine sap and something old. The fabric pulls against my fingers, gently, like a dog testing a leash. The whisper again behind the glass, no longer a suggestion but a shape. Look. I do not. Nemo. Time slows into a tight coil. The knocks don't return. Instead, there's a scraping across the porch, like claws testing grain. A second handprint flowers in fog on the pane, higher than the first. Then a third, upside down, as if something hung there, looking in. I stare at the corner of the curtain and count my breaths. At some point, I notice something I shouldn't. The faintest damp toe prints on the floorboards, a foot's worth from the bed. They're moving toward the window, not away. The wood around them is dry. The prints themselves glisten as if they were made just now by a foot that isn't here. I don't move. I don't blink. I wait for dawn to peel the night away. Gah. The light comes as a mercy, without warmth. The porch is empty. The door looks normal, until you see the hairline cracks radiating from the latch like frost. The salt line on the back sill is parted in a neat crescent gap. In the break, a single pine needle sits upright, as if planted. Above the window, tucked into the frame where the wall meets the trim, I find a knot of black hair. Not fur, not human exactly, coarse, slightly damp, and smelling faintly of smoke. I gather my things with hands that won't stop shaking. Nah, I know. I tell the owner I'm leaving a day early. He nods like men nod at weather. Some places, he says lightly, don't like to be looked at. He runs a thumb along the counter, collecting a line of sawdust. You didn't open the curtain, did you? I don't answer. He smiles at the non-answer. Good, he says, and turns to a tool drawer. You should go before the road gets slick. As I leave, I see it. A small drawstring pouch of salt hanging behind his office door, and a window where the curtain rod is bolted to the studs. Nee. The path out is a tunnel of wet green. In the rearview mirror, the cabin shrinks to a square of shadow, then to a vertical line between trees. Just before the bend takes it away, the back curtain. The one I held, the one that wanted my hand, lifts in the still air, a small, tidy movement, as if fingers have pinched the fabric and released it. I do not stop. Nah. I can pretend it was animals. I can invent a prankster with time and patience and a bag of crows. I can tell myself the prints were mine, smeared by rain, and the hair a broom's lost bristle. But know what I felt in that first second of waking. The sense of a mind outside mine, pressed to the glass, practicing a word. I know what the owner didn't have to say, and I know this most of all. The tapping wasn't the wind. The knocks weren't an invitation. They were an instruction. The thing at the glass doesn't want to come in. It wants you to look. And if I had drawn the curtain 3 seconds earlier, I would not be here to tell you that. Later, at home, rain beads on my apartment window. In the fog, my hand leaves behind. A second handprint appears beside mine. Long palm, narrow fingers, sliding down the glass before the condensation runs. Then, nothing. Only my own breath and the quiet knock of a neighbor's door somewhere down the hall. Tap, dot, dot, ASCII. It was just past midnight at the gas station. Those late shifts always felt like being alone on a forgotten island. Just me, the constant hum of the coolers, the faint smell of old coffee, and the fluorescent lights buzzing above like tired insects. It was 12:15 when I first noticed him. Through the front window, a shadow detached itself from the darkness. Tall, thin, moving slowly along the side of the building. Not toward the front door, but sliding past, like he was deliberately avoiding the light. His head tilted downward, his hands buried deep in his jacket pockets. I couldn't make out his face. The street lamp behind him left him in silhouette. Now, I've worked here long enough to know plenty of people use our lot as a shortcut. Sometimes to get to the bar, sometimes just passing through. But something about this man. He didn't look lost. He didn't look drunk. He looked like he knew exactly where he was going, and I wasn't sure I wanted to know where that was. He disappeared along the building's side wall. I told myself to stop staring, to mind my own business. But after a few minutes, I realized something. He hadn't reappeared. If he'd kept walking, I should have seen him cross into the open lot beyond the building. That's when I heard it. Tap, 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 tap. Soft, deliberate, coming from the back of the store. I froze, the sound echoing faintly in the empty shop. Slowly, I stepped out from behind the counter, each footstep on the tile sounding too loud. I passed the aisles of snack shelves, their shadows stretching unnaturally long under the white light. The tapping grew louder as I approached the back hallway. Tap, tap, tap. It stopped the moment I reached the heavy metal back door. I stared at it, my breath shallow. The air felt colder here, as if something on the other side was drawing the warmth away. I glanced up at the security camera monitor behind the counter, but the back camera feed was nothing but static. I reached out and gently touched the door handle. Ice cold. Some part of me screamed not to open it, but another part, the curious, stupid part, told me I needed to know. I turned the lock and slowly pushed the door open. The alley behind the station was pitch black, the kind of dark where your eyes don't adjust, they just surrender. The smell of damp concrete and something sour drifted in. No one was there. I stepped out, my shoes crunching on gravel, my ears strained for sound. That's when I saw it. By the dumpster, a faint movement, like fabric shifting. I took a step closer, squinting into the shadows. And then, a face appeared. Not fully, just enough for the pale curve of a cheek and one unblinking eye to catch the faint glow from the street lamp far away. He was pressed against the wall, still as a corpse, watching me. I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over the threshold, and slammed the door shut. My heart was hammering so hard it felt like it might tear through my chest. The rest of the night, I couldn't shake the thought he hadn't just been passing through. He'd been waiting. And I still don't know if I interrupted whatever he was planning, or if he's still out there, waiting for a night when I'm not quick enough to close that door. Nyodon.